Welcome back everyone, it's J7J bringing you a video on cut content that never made it into Final Fantasy Tactics. That might be because of things like time and budget constraints, or maybe it didn't go well with the final direction of the game. There are many things that I could talk about as there is quite a bit of dummied content, but I thought I'd cut it down to the 5 things that really stood out to me, with number 1 being the most cool and confirmed thing that was left out in the final version of the game. Let's get started. Let's begin with number 5. Now for those of you that played the PS1 release of Final Fantasy Tactics, which is actually the vast majority of you, know about ability and spell quotes, which were quite cool. It was awesome seeing them, especially before the unique knight abilities like Holy Explosion from Orlando and Agrias. However, one unique knight actually had these disabled for his abilities, which was Beowulf's Temple Knight. There is data in-game for it, but oddly it didn't make it into the final game or isn't used. Even Zalbag's Arc Knight had ability quotes for his abilities, granted he rarely ever used these. As someone who really likes Beowulf, I really wanted to see this in-game and was always surprised he never said anything before using his abilities. Number 4 is something I posted on my community post, and that would be the concept art of the Elegant Flyer, which even Yasumi Matsuno doesn't remember what it was supposed to be used for. Akihiko Yoshida may know what it was intended for as he was the artist, but he seems to be absent on social media to ask the question. But based on how it looks, it could have been an early concept art or inspiration for the dancer, but this is all speculation. However, when using Line Editor and when adding Teacher to the roster, she has a unique sprite that looks very identical to that of the Elegant Flyer, notably her darker skin, clothes, and hair, which makes me think it also could have been an early design for Teacher possibly, but this isn't fact or the word from God himself, still just more theorizing and speculating. Number 3 would be Oran, Simon, and Balmofra being possible playable characters. Their sprites work perfectly well in combat. The sprites also show up fine in the formation screen if you use Line Editor or other tools, and they even have their own character quotes. Again, this is just more guessing and speculation on my part. Perhaps at one point in development of the game, they were intended characters to actually join the party. Some people may say that Galaxy Stop or Celestial Stasis would be too overpowered in the hands of the player, but my counter argument would be, so why did we get Orlando and things like Holy combined with Math skill? For spot number 2, it would be another 1 versus 1 duel. Now we already had some epic fights, especially versus Gaff, Gurion, and Weegraf, which will forever live on through not only Final Fantasy history, but gaming as well. Although I do feel sorry for those who had to restart the game because of Weegraf. But there was possibly another mano-a-mano fight intended with Ramza fighting Fulmar in the airship graveyard before he transforms with the Zodiac Stone. He had equipment in Save the Queen, Kaiser Shield, Crystal Helm, and Mail, also Sprint Shoes, with its primary and secondary action abilities all planned out as well. I'm not sure about you, but I thought a lot of these battles here at Malone weren't really that memorable or some of my favorite fights in the game. Although, Ultima does look quite good in phase 1 of her fight. I think having another showdown with the leader of the Knights Templar would have been an awesome near-end fight, and one fans would have definitely remembered, very similar to that of Cloud vs Sephiroth at the end of Final Fantasy VII. Now saving the best for last, number 1, and this was confirmed by Yasumi Matsuno, is Delita having his own branching storyline. Even though this was scrapped early on in development due to time, I would have loved to see a much more fleshed out game with Delita being playable. I also noticed in a lot of my YouTube comments that people wished for the same thing. You could make a small argument that they did give him a bit more of this in War of the Lions as you take control of him in 2 battles, and there is that extra cutscene at Zeltenia. But I personally would have loved to have more gameplay where we get to level him up and so on. Delita's story was also intended to be a lot darker, similar to that of Tactics Ogre, although I will say FFT is by no means a light game at all. I feel that having a Delita arc would have answered a lot more questions, like where he went after Zeekton, how he joined up with the church, if he participated in any battles when the War of the Lions broke out, and also more of how the romantic relationship grew between him and Ophelia. I hope you enjoyed the video on the cut content of Final Fantasy Tactics. Overall, I'm sure the development team made the right choice as FFT is amazing and still loved by myself and many of us today. But it still makes me wonder what it could have been if all these things were implemented into the game, or if there are any hidden plans for these things in a future remake or remaster. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.